The most difficult and hardest thing to learn in watercolors is water control, simply because it's invisible. Beginners dip their brush in water, touch the paint, and slap it on paper. It creates puddles, blooms, or pale, washed out colors. But in today's video, we are going to learn water control using tea to butter method. It's going to clarify what types of water consistency you have to use for different types of paintings. So you will also be learning what brushes hold lot water and less water for more water control. So let's get started. So water control depends a lot on which type of brush you are using and how much that brush is going to hold the water. So I'm going to show you these two brushes. For example, this one is a simple round brush number 8, and the bristles for this one is very stiff. If the bristles of a brush are stiff, it means that it is going to hold less water. And the second one is a mop brush. It's very soft. The bristles are really soft and it takes the shape. If I press this side, it takes the shape and becomes very thin. If I press like this, it's going to be flatter on this side and thinner on this side. So these types of brushes hold a lot of water, which can really affect your paintings in a good and a bad way. So I would be demonstrating all the water control techniques with this particular brush. So let's start. So first I'm going to show you what are the three types of textures for water, basically water consistency. So there are three types. The standard way to call this is tea to butter consistency, which means that there are three types of consistencies. One is like a tea consistency, second is milk consistency, and the third one is butter consistency. So as the name suggests, the first one, which is tea consistency, is going to be very watery, mostly water and very less pigment. The second one, the milky one, will have water as well as more pigment as well. And the third one will be very opaque and it's going to be very sticky and very dark. So it's going to be just like a butter, very thick consistency. So now that we know what are the three textures and what are the three consistencies of water, let's start and I'll show you different ways to demonstrate the three types of consistencies. So the first one is the tea consistency, which means it is going to be very watery. I'm going to show you two types of tests that you can use to check the consistency. So for example, I'm taking a lot of water here on my palette. I'm going to use this palette to demonstrate everything. As you can see, there's a lot of water, and now I'm going to just add very little of pigment. I'm going to demonstrate it with indigo color. So I have little pigment here, and I'm going to mix this right here. So tea consistency means when I dip my brush in this consistency and I load my brush, and I just make it vertical, it's going to drop the paint. You can see the droplet forming at the bottom. It's going to drop the paint. This is tea consistency, which means every time you load your brush, it's going to drop the paint, which means that it's very watery. I want to show you one more thing. So if I tilt my palette like this, it's going to run right away. I've not even tilted, vertically. It's just slanting and it's already tilted, which means it's very watery. This kind of consistency is great if you are doing backgrounds or for watercolor paintings that have skies in the background. And also this is used for the first layer paintings also, as the first layer. So let me swatch this one so that you can actually see the consistency on the paper now. So I'm just going to paint a circle here because it has a lot of water. So it will be very light and the pigment will not be very strong. So that's the tea consistency. Now let's move to the milk consistency, which means it's going to be little bit more pigment in the paint, and then it is not going to drip like we saw with the tea consistency. It's not going to drip the paint like that. So for that, I'm going to use the same mixture, and then I'm going to add a lot of pigment now compared to the first one. And when I take this particular, you see the difference. When I use this, load my brush with this consistency, which is the milk consistency, it is not going to drop the paint like it did with the tea consistency. It's not going to drop, which means it's a little bit thicker than the tea consistency. So we need this kind of consistency for most of our paintings. Whatever subject we are painting, we usually use this kind of consistency. Let me swatch this consistency here on the paper. As you can see in this one, the pigment is very strong as compared to the first one. And the final part is to check what is the butter consistency, which means the butter consistency will be very thick, very sticky, and it is not going to move even if I tilt my palette anyway. The butter consistency usually means that I just wet my brush, go straight away in the pan and just pick some color. Just going to rub my brush in the pan, and then whatever consistency I have, that is the butter consistency, which means it's not very wet and it has lots of pigments. It's usually used for giving more details on the painting rather than actually creating the base for the painting. So you can clearly see the difference in the three consistencies. So this one is almost black, which means if I want to give some more details, some deeper details, I'm going to use this consistency. For example, if I'm painting a flower, the base, I'm going to use the tea consistency. For some shadows, I'm going to use this consistency, which is milky consistency. And for the center of the flower and some stamens and just giving some more little depth for the flower petals, I'm going to use this consistency. So that's the difference, and this consistency doesn't move at all. So if I mix this consistency and put it on my palette right here, no matter how many directions I move this, it's not going to move. It is not going to move at all. So this is butter consistency. So I'm going to paint a flower to demonstrate all the different types of water control tips and the textures and the consistency of different types of waters. So let me quickly add more water to this to make it into a tea consistency. So I'm adding lots of water. Just like our tea has more water and less milk, in the same way we are going to make the pigment for the tea consistency. So this is ready. Let me just paint a small little flower here. So that's the base layer for my flower. As you can see, it's very watery and very light pigment. And while this is still wet, I'm going to add the milky consistency to this one, which means I'm going to add more pigment on my palette. And I'm going to create some shadows for these flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to deepen the center. So I'm going to drop some pigment, the milk consistency water, and just drop it here. So milk consistency is going to spread a little because the paper is damp, the paper is wet. So it's going to spread a little on the petals wherever we want them to be. We are going to wait to give more details with the final texture. So I'm going to show you one little small painting here as well while this flower is still drying up. In case if we do the backgrounds, So we use the tea consistency for the sky, so I added more water on my palette. I'm just going to create a little tiny painting here. So that's the background for one of my paintings. It's very light and very watery, just the tea consistency. Now I'm going to add some blurry trees on it. So I'm going to add a little more pigment to make it milky consistency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and then just try to create some trees. So the trees will slowly start blending with the background because it's still wet, like that. So let me dry everything and then I will show you all the differences. So the final detail is to give the center and more details on the flower and some more details on our landscape painting. So for details, we always use a smaller brush. So I'm going to switch to a 0 number brush to give more details. So this is our butter consistency. And the way I like to give details on my flower is to add the center. You can see already that it is so thick. It is just like a melted butter. And I like to make some tiny lines. So you can easily see all the 3 different consistencies in one little object. Let me show you how I like to give more details with the butter consistency in this one. So what I want to highlight is one tree here with this darker consistency so that this particular tree is standing out from the rest. It's very thick and dark, so it will easily be, differentiated with the rest of the other layers. And let me add one little bird also. So this is how you actually layer the colors, control the water, and just use the water consistency in different levels, and it totally depends on what you are painting. So for bigger backgrounds, for bigger backgrounds, you're going to use the tea consistency, which is going to be very light and perfect for the bigger spaces and the backgrounds. The second consistency, the milk consistency, is what you are going to use for the for painting specific objects in your painting and giving shadows. And the third one and the final one is the butter consistency, which is going to be very thick and dark, very pigmented, for which you are going to use to give more details on your painting, for more depth in your paintings. So I hope this tutorial was helpful to you all, and it's actually not a painting tutorial, but it's a science related, the tips and techniques that you can actually use for controlling different textures of water in your watercolor. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and if you like this one, then please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. That means a lot to me, and I will see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.